Hey guys, this is Tolhe, and welcome to part 47 of Let's Play Minecraft. So, this is actually my second start on this video, because I did this video once already, or I started this video once, and I recorded like 8 minutes as I built this wall, talking about something I've actually attempted to record a couple times in the past, but I've cut out before. Mostly in the past, though, it was just because I wanted to, but eventually I just sort of figured I can't really talk about it on camera. It's really hard to like have this discussion, and that's talk on game programming. But this time it's actually the reason I want to talk about it today is specifically because just before I started this video, I got a comment from a new subscriber, Infamous Buffalo, pretty much asking me would I recommend game programming. And it's not an easy question to answer, because there's a lot of things that come into it, and I've seen people do well at game programming. Oh shoot, this needs to be, actually, do I want all of this to be dirt, though? I actually kind of want all this to be, oh, I wanted this to be something other than dirt, like cobblestone, but that's going to require a lot more cobblestone. Whatever, we'll start filling this in, because this will be the floor, right? This will be the floor level. And it's okay for that side to be dirt, because that's going to be, a courtyard, but this side's going to need to be cobblestone. And so then I can just delete this, though. Does that throw the whole thing off, or no, it still works. I can fill this in with dirt, though. Let me just put some torches around so we can see. But I got off topic there for a second. So what I'm talking about here is video game programming. So would I recommend it? I would highly recommend it if you really like video games and if you really like math. That's pretty much what it boils down to. There's a lot more factors than that. And I've tried to, like I said, I've tried to have this discussion before. I've tried to like do a video and like talk about video game programming, what's involved in it, you know, my opinions and stuff, but it's a really hard talk to have, because like there's so much to talk about when it comes to game programming, and I'm really not an expert, so I always tend to overcomplicate it. Like in the first 8 minutes of this video that I tried to record, I just overcomplicated it to like an extreme, and it was just like I started talking about objects, and just way too much complication. Talking about classes and data patterns. And for people who don't understand programming, that's like, I'd say I learned it at a level of like maybe what that was taught at like second quarter. Some of that stuff all the way up to like my later quarters of school. So like it's just I tend to go into too much detail. I'm gonna require a lot of cobblestone to fill all this in. In the meantime, I need to dig out this whole level, though. So I guess we can get to work on that at least. And I'm out of light again, so let's just put up a light torch there, and a light there, and a light there. And so, yeah, so what am I talking about? So, yeah, it's just, I overcomplicated it, but I want to try again. And if I fail this time, then I'll never talk about it again. Or never try to, but this will be a trap, guys. This will be Tolhe Rants about programming, so it's a trap. No, I did not come up on that with that on the spot. I've actually thought about that before and been like, what would I call a segment about coding? Oh, I'd call it a trap. Tolhe Rants about programming. Anyways, so here I go. So programming, it's mostly all math based, but more so than that, it's all based on variables and logic statements and moreover loops. So the way a game works is just a loop. So it's just a segment of code that gets run every single frame. And a frame is usually, you like to have like 60 frames in a second, and a frame is just like a section of that loop. So if you have 60 frames per second, then the game has run 60 times. Like the loop of the game has run 60 times in that second. So, and then pretty much the loop involves rendering and updating and whatnot, but I'm mostly only going to talk about the simulation side, the updating, because that's the most simple. When you get into rendering, things get more complicated. But yeah, so when it comes to just data, like it's really simple. It's just like you have a variable, and you can name that variable whatever you want. There's some rules, like you can't start with a number and blah blah blah, but for the most part you have a variable, and that variable has a data type. So simple data types are such as like an integer, which is just a number, a float, which is a decimal number, a bool. Booleans are just a true or false on or off operator. Like that's what those variables are. You have characters, which you can then do more complicated things like arrays. An array is like a list of variables. And I know this is a lot to sort of take in, but like the basic idea here is that, you know, you have all these different ways of declaring data. And so you can have like a variable, and it'll be like, I can have an integer and I can call it x, and I can fill x with whatever I want. So I can have x equal to 7, x equal to 9, whatever kind of number I want. But if I want it to be a decimal number, then I'd have to make it a float. So then I would have float x, and then it could be 9.578 whatever, right? It doesn't really matter. So that's the basic idea. But then you can do stuff like if x is equal to 7, then make variable y, which is like a float or something, equal to 20. And so that all just sounds like mumbo jumbo, but let me try and explain that in a better way. So you can have, now this is really oversimplifying things, but let's say we have a cube, right? And let's say we can put that cube down, and we can say that cube is either let's say this cube represents a variable, and we'll call it the variable cube, and it's either it's a Boolean data type, so it's either on or off. So this cube is either here or not here. And this is not how Minecraft works, I could guarantee you. And so you basically have like this whole idea of a variable, which is Boolean, and it's like it is a cube. It's either here or, you know, not here or here. So there it is, true, not there, false. So then I could say something like, I try and place a torch on top of the cube, and I could do a logic check and say, if cube is true, meaning it's there, then allow torch to be placed. If cube is not there, then I can't place a torch on top of it because there's no cube. You get what I mean? Like, that's the sort of logic you can start to get into. In the same way, I could say something like, say if we give these cubes data values, so we can say that a dirt cube is a 1 and a cobblestone cube is a 2, then, well, what we should really say is 0 and 1, because when you start with coding always starts with 0 rather than starting with 1. So this would actually be 0 and this would be 1. So I could say only allow, you know, torch to be placed on 1. So the logic would be that if cube equals, so cube now being an integer that can be from 0 to as high as you want, if cube is equal to 0, then allow torch to be placed. And I could say, oh, well, this is a 0 cube, I can place a torch on that. But if it's a 1, then I would say, oh, I can't. No, obviously I can, because this isn't my code, but, you know, I think you get what I mean. And so that's the basic idea here, is that you have, like, basically logic that determines how your game works. So that would be an if statement. You would have an if statement which says if cube equals 1, and then you would execute code based on that, and that code would do more complicated stuff, obviously, like creating a torch and then placing it, you know, blah blah blah. That's not what I want to get into. I'm going to try and keep this as simple as possible, and I feel like I'm failing that already, but we'll see. And so then when you get into a while loop though, or like a loop, which you can have a while loop, for loop, there's different types of loops. But I can have a loop that says pretty much execute the same code over and over again. And so I could have a while loop that's just like you have an integer, which is x or cube or whatever you want to call it. And whenever you, so just pretend that this is like my integer, which starts at 0, pretending, yeah, so 0, there's nothing there. And then I could say every frame add 1, so every frame add 1 to that variable. And eventually, you'd end up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, infinitely high number. And so you can have that sort of loop. And so pretty much that loop will continue until its condition is broken. So I could have a loop that's something like, come on, just look what I've done. So I know I'm getting a bit off track here, guys. I'm not even doing anything with my stuff. I'm just ranting now. But I want to have this conversation mostly because someone asked for it, and I just want to talk about it anyways because it's what I do for a living. And so, yeah, so you could end up with a loop that says while while 2 is not equal to 2. That's easier to like try and comprehend while explaining this. So 1, it's not equal to 2. 2, and now it's equal to 2, so the while loop will stop. And then you'd end with, the loop would end, and then cube would be equal to 2 for the rest of the code. I don't know if this is making any sense whatsoever, guys, but it's really simple. It's just, coding is just a bunch of if statements and while loops. And then it gets more complicated as you want to build classes, and classes are just like a whole bunch of variables, and then you can build functions which just like change the variables around for you. I'm sorry if I've lost people and they're just like, what is he talking about? I don't even, it's not an easy thing to grasp for everyone, and I understand that. For myself, I just sort of get it. Like the best place to start, in my opinion, is to go find like Game Maker or something like that. Or not Game Maker, RPG Maker. That's where I started. Like, I started with RPG Maker, and I didn't even realize it was code at the time. I was just like playing around with RPG Maker, and then like when I actually decided that I wanted to do video game programming, I found that a lot of the stuff that was done in RPG Maker, the loops, the checks, the logic, was all pretty much the same. And I was like, oh man, this is really cool. I get this because I've done it before. So yeah, let me check time, guys. Oh wow, we're at like 13 minutes, so this is it. This has been me ranting about programming. Please don't unsubscribe because of this video. I'm not going to do this again. I really don't think I explained this well, and I feel it's a loss of video, but I really want to put it up there just so it's up there. And so in the end, I guess my point is that if you like math, in particular algebra, and if you like games, then yes, game programming is an excellent option. And the only thing to be aware of is, but yeah, so it's just, when it comes right down to it, it's really, if you like math, if you like games, then game programming is probably for you. Because it's all problem solving. I have an idea. How do I make that idea come to life? Like, I want to put a cube down, and I want to be able to put a cube on any side of any other cube. How can I do that? And then you do it, and you figure it out, and you make it happen, and then you sort of see it, right? Like, Minecraft is an amazing game because it's just so, like, simple is what got me. And I don't mean it's simple in a bad way. I just mean it's just such a great concept. It's such a great core that it's just, you place a cube. What can you do with that cube? You can place a cube next to it. And I've probably gone over time now, so I'll probably have to make this 2 parts. Anyways, this is Tolhe signing out. Later, guys.